Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. A couple things. We have a great show today. I'm very excited to have this person. Um, if you've been doing some Netflix and chilling like I have with my lady friend, you watched this show called The $1 Million Secret, and we were starting to watch it. After the first episode, we didn't do any more chilling. We just did the Netflix because the show was so good, and I fell in love with this person in it because she's kind of labeled as the bad guy on the show, but for some reason I kind of clicked with her. And the great Sydnee Falkner is going to be here via Zoom. It's going to be my first time interviewing like a reality TV star that's super famous. So rifters, be cool, uh, and all that stuff. Follow her on Instagram and the social medias, and I have a feeling she's going to do big things, and it's going to be great. So enjoy Razor Riffs with Sydnee Falkner coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Razor Riffs with your host, Keith Reza.
Hi, Sydnee Falkner.
Hello, Keith. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, living the dream.
Always, every single day.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I gave you a sweet intro into intros, but it was so funny like after I played it, so I thought I'd replay it for you because
I love it.
it's really funny. So we're gonna pretend I'm redoing the intros one more time. All right.
Okay.
Excellent. Hey, Rifters. Yeah, I have to do that. Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. My guest today, I'm very excited because I was Netflix and chilling with my lady friend, and we watched this show called $1 Million Secret. And after the first episode, there was no more chilling. We just watched the Netflix. And so I fell in love with my guest, Sydnee Falkner, because I feel that I kind of connected with you in a way on the show because you were kind of labeled as a bad guy, but I didn't really see that, and I kind of like connected with you because there's a thing you said on an episode where you wish people like took time to get to know you a little more, and
Yeah.
that really reflected towards me because Sydney, not to brag, but I'm a famous, and no one like takes time to actually get to know me. They just want me to make them laugh and all that stuff. So I kind of connected to that. You know what I mean?
So maybe we flip the script and I interview you right now so everybody
Oh,
gets to know you a little bit.
no, everyone, but like, so like, I really like bonded with that because I thought that was like, for a reality TV show to say something like that, that's pretty daring and pretty real, and I kind of really liked that.
Thank you. That was a tough dinner, obviously. That was what I thought my elimination dinner was going to be. I had the diamond dress, I was ready to go home, and it genuinely was. Even now with my castmates, we have a group chat on Instagram, right? And I'm the one, and I pop in and I go, mental health check.
Yeah,
How's everyone doing? Like, are people okay? I check in with my people. That's what I do because I do genuinely know how it feels when people don't do that for you, or they look at you and they make an assumption, or they've seen kind of a personality you play and they make an assumption on that, and they don't allow you to be human still, right?
yeah.
And you and we still have feelings, we still have thoughts, we still have the bad days, we still have so much more to us than what's put out there by either a network or even sometimes ourselves.
Yeah. Now, speaking of mental health, like now that you're on the TV, like does it like kind of like get to you? Like does it overwhelm you and stuff? Like has how has your life changed with this?
It's kind of cool. My following on social media has definitely increased. I personally, I run my social media to go through as many messages as I can. I will confess I prioritize the women first, just
Yeah,
because. And I wasn't quite prepared. Like you said, I was kind of labeled a bad guy, but I didn't really see how. And so it's polarizing. Some people love you, some people hate you. Some people will say some of the craziest things. I've had people say the world would be better off without me.
yeah. Oh
I've
yeah.
had people say that their daughter absolutely loved me and is inspired by me.
Yeah.
So I definitely choose to focus more on the positive because that's what I care about. And where your attention goes, energy flows, right? So bringing more into that. But it's been crazy. It's been a whirlwind. I'm super grateful for it, if I'm being honest. And I'm glad that I did it now and not a couple years ago because we should always be changing. We should always be evolving. If I was the version of me, even say 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and I had to deal with some of the backlash from a edited reality TV show, right? Tens of thousands of hours condensed into 45 minutes to create drama. That's why we watch the show. You want drama, and then people get mad at the drama. And I don't know how well I would have handled it, but now it's like my mom says, it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
And I did a couple lives actually. It's so funny. I don't usually do that, but I did one last night and I had someone pop on and they're like, "You're so annoying." And I said, "Why are you in my life then?
Oh my gosh.
You have the opportunity to not be here
Yeah.
at all." So it's so interesting how into shows people get. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, people, I always like, because like people say mean things about me too. And like, I always say like it's insecurities on them because you got to look on the bright side of like when you do get those nice messages, like, how that lady's daughter wants to be just like you and all that stuff. Like they overlap all the meanness. You know what I mean?
And I I could get 100 negative comments, but that one positive comment, that's that's all that matters. That's
Yeah.
really all that matters. And quite frankly, it's usually like one negative to like 200 positive, which is
Oh,
super, super cool. And I'm never gonna let that one negative. I'm like, ugh, I could never be, you think I'm a mean girl? I could never go to some random person's page and comment these types of things. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
they're calling me a bully, but they're bullying and being 100 times worse than I think I even came close to on the show. I do like to say, if I wanted to be mean, you would know it, and it would be bad. I was not mean on the show, and I'm not a mean person. It's just my face. I can't help it.
You're not the mean girl. I think you had like a little feistiness, but that's not really bad at all. Like I kind of prefer
A little
people.
pizzazz, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I think that's character. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
how boring would it have been otherwise?
yeah, you should be thankful you don't do stand-up comedy because you were saying like you get one mean comment versus 100 positive comments. In stand-up comedy, it's probably the reverse. You get 100 mean comments
Oh,
and
I
one.
I could never.
It would be.
I my like cleverness and wit, it has to happen naturally. I'm not on all the time. My dad, fantastic. People love him. Me, it's kind of one of those things where if it's the right moment and it's timed perfectly, I am not built for stand up. You are a whole different breed to be
Oh,
able to do that.
I see an acting career in your future with comedy in it because I thought you were very funny on the show. And
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you meant to be funny, but like I caught some of the jokes you were doing, you know what I mean? So,
I appreciate that. I'm actually trying to get into scripted work. I'm starting to take classes, so I'm
oh,
very excited about. I obviously need stunt classes because my fall was just atrocious. So we're gonna work on that as well.
oh.
But
I thought that
I
was
can make fun of
funny.
myself for that. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about filming because like the one thing I know about reality TV shows is like uh it's kind of like you said they're editing for 45 minutes but they're filming all the time.
Yeah, we're up at five,
Yeah.
probably five or so. And from the second you wake up, you get mic'd up. We weren't filming 24/7. So when we were in our own rooms or cameras weren't on, we were on ice. I still dream. I have PTSD when I hear the word ice. I like shut up automatically. I'm Pavlov dogged
Yeah.
to it. And as soon as your mic is on, you're filming. And there's some nights where we film till 2, 3 in the morning, still needing to do confessionals. Depending on the challenges, you have to shuttle back and forth. The camera's always on, but there is some dead time where you're just like, the helicopter ride was close to an hour and you saw 2 minutes of it. So
Exactly.
we're
Yeah.
kind of just sitting there chatting. You can't talk when the camera is not going because if something happens that would be have continuity to the story, then they miss it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very on point about everything. And then once you were in your room, you were in your room. That was it. We had hall monitors and everything. Shout out to Cast Care. I woke up to peppermint tea every single day outside my door, which was great.
Whoa.
But yeah, I didn't know how to function as a human my first month back because
Yeah.
I was so used. I was so nice not having my phone, no computer, no outside world influence, just decompressing, but also super stressful because you're constantly being filmed and there is $1 million on the line. I don't care. Even after taxes, that's a lot of money.
Oh no, for sure. I was gonna say after taxes, it's still a lot of money, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's life changing. It will probably make you survive for like 2 or 3 years. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
if you're smart with your investing and everything like that, I feel like you could probably do something with it for sure. But it's not, I think some of the other games they do like 100,000 and some of them do like 15 million. I think Beast Games is like 15 million and that's a lot of money. So
Yeah, but that game, because I watched that with my lady friend too. That game doesn't even give people actually chances because, like, you could get
really, I
eliminated.
haven't seen it.
I mean, it's funny, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think reality TV shows are kind of funny in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's because it's cheesy or whatever, but I enjoy the funniness.
What? And I'm amazed at how many people kind of take it to be actual reality.
Yeah,
Because you do kind of get casted or stereotyped through editing as a character, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so many people, they're like, oh my God, you're so much nicer than I thought you were going to be. And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, that isn't like me, you know what I mean?
yeah. No, when we were watching the $1 Million Secret, my late and you came on, my lady friend looked at me. I call her my lady friend because I think a girlfriend is because we're not really boyfriend girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I
so
like it. It's still respectful. You're shouting her out. I'm here for it.
yeah, yeah. But like you came on, and she looks at me and she's like, "Don't you dare get her on the podcast." And I was like, "Oh well, So I kind of
But now I have to.
yeah, yeah. That's the type of fella I am. Is like if you tell me
I'm
not.
oppositionally defiant as well. It's okay. I understand. My mom will be the first one to tell you if you want Sydney to do something, tell her not to do it. Sorry.
That's how my mind works too. And so like when you got on it, I thought it was really funny. And then, I realized like reality shows, I feel like with a British or an English host kind of make it seem like better. You know what I mean? And I thought
Yeah,
Peter Serafinowicz, who's also a stand-up comedian, a lot of people don't know that, but I really enjoy his humor, so I thought he complimented it.
he was so great. Honestly, I'm not going to try to say his last name. You did such a fantastic job. I
Oh,
wouldn't
did
even
I
try.
really?
Yeah, you did such a great job. I'm not even going to try. Peter was so phenomenal. We didn't get a whole lot of interaction at first when it was all 12 of us, just outside of like the challenges or those certain snippets. But once it got narrowed down, he was around a lot more because that's when, things are close. We're spending a lot more time together. There's still a lot going on. And I think they did such a good job casting him for the show, honestly.
Yeah,
Just so fantastic. His humor, very dry, very on point for it, still very high class. I think it worked with everything really well.
yeah. And then I have two more questions on this because then I want to move on to getting to know who you are. But
Cool.
I wanted to ask these two questions. I wanted to ask about these challenges. You know what I mean? Like one lady had a challenge to say, the name of songs and stuff and hug people and all that stuff. And these aren't challenges you got, but I was going to ask, do you think you could have got done these challenges that you didn't get, or do you think like you're kind of happy you got the one you got?
Um, so Lauren was the one she had to do the 5 songs. She did a great job with that. She was a smooth criminal
Yeah,
with that. I think some of the other challenges, Sam did a great job with the can you hear this ring? Phil's was difficult, obviously the scream. I think there was probably a subtler way to do that. Quite frankly, I wish I had Kara's challenge.
yeah,
Getting 3 people to switch spots with me, I could do that. That wouldn't look super suspicious. Um, I was making a joke earlier. I was like, if they really wanted to try to bring attention to me, they should have given me an agenda not to finish my food because
Oh
my
my
plate
God.
was cleaned every single time. And if I didn't finish my plate, people would have been like,
Yeah.
what's going on with Sydney right now?
Wow. So like when we started watching the show, like we picked who would win, like before we like, and I actually picked you to win.
So close.
And my lady friend, she picked the first guy to get out, the guy who was like a
Ah,
natural.
Harry.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I kind of knew that guy was gonna be the first one out. You know what I mean? Because I'm really good at like observing. Like it's all about the first episode. If you listen to all the clues and stuff, they kind of tell you who's gonna move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was very surprised that Kara won because I was like, I didn't expect that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that one is definitely interesting. My gameplay at first was to be more like Kara and to just kind of stay quiet and stay middle of the pack. Unfortunately, I have opinions and a
Yeah,
mouth on me. So that lasted until about the whole Lauren debacle with all of that stuff. Um, Nobody, it's so funny. So many people, so many fans are like, why were you mad Lauren lied? What would you have done? And I said, I do not care that Lauren lied. Good for her. That was the game. There's a
right.
way about going about lying, and then you're either all in, disclosing you're the millionaire, all your agendas, make something up. I don't care. But you can't be wishy-washy with it. You either say it or you don't say it. And that
Yeah,
was kind of that whole thing. Um, I knew as soon as Cara threw the challenge, she was going to win
do
right then
you?
and
Yeah,
there. Yeah, I was because it doesn't show it, but I was telling the other two, and even it doesn't show mine and Sam's conversation, but she flat out tells me she's like, I'm not getting rid of Cara. It's not happening.
yeah.
Um, I was like, even if she's the millionaire, and they're like, we'd rather keep her in.
Jeez.
And I'm like, well, nobody wants to go against me in the final, so
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, but like it's so interesting about because you're right, it is a game about lying. And I don't know if you know this, but the average person lies once every 10 minutes. So like it's kind of like that where like you could kind of get little things like that, if they're doing 45-minute, edits and stuff and you're there with a lot of people, you could kind of catch little things like that, you know what I mean?
yep.
Usually when someone lies, it's to protect, your feelings or backstab your buddy or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of that, and it's a lot easier to do to a bunch of strangers that you don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's the best, isn't it? But
I've known you for 3 days. We'll be cool after the show. It's okay. Sorry, somebody has to go home.
yeah. Let's find out a little about Sydney, because now you're famous, you know what I mean? And now, stuff is gonna come, and we know what we know about you. We know that you're from Alaska and you live in Scottsdale and stuff. So like what's that transition like? Because Alaska is very, very cold, and then, 6 months of the year it's always daylight, and then it's always nighttime, you know what I mean? And then Arizona's the
Story time.
yeah, Arizona's the
Um,
complete opposite.
I'm all about extremes, clearly. Like, I don't want to do any show unless I get to win $1 million on it. Oh, I'll go from -80 to 120. So we moved to Alaska when I was like 4
Uh,
because my dad decided to move up on a whim, and my mom followed him with 2 toddlers and no jobs. But obviously, we made it work. 3 days after I graduated high school, my dad worked at the power distribution center as a high voltage journeyman lineman, and he said, "You've got to pay for college somehow." And I did have junior college scholarships for basketball to Oregon, Washington, and California. And I was like, okay, I'll work for the summer, make a bunch of money, figure out where I want to go to school, what I want to do. And I wasn't quite sure as the semester started to roll around. So I decided, I took a semester off. I decided to work, save up money. It is where I grew up, we would close school at -50. So
yeah.
50 below zero, ambient at like 6 a.m., not including wind chill, you would close school. If it was 48, 49 below, you still went to school. Very familiar with cold temperatures. However, it did end up hitting like -80 with wind chill, so like -65 ambient one time when I was up there. And it was just take your breath away cold. You don't go outside. And I have family in Arizona. My grandparents that lived in Colorado, they moved to Arizona because my grandpa had health issues. And so I'd been visiting here since I was in like fifth or sixth grade.
Hmm.
And I loved the city and I loved fashion and I loved the style. And I even briefly went to high school out here in Arizona to kind of get away from my high school and just things I was struggling with, some bullying and stuff like that. And my mom missed me too much, so I went back. But I was like, okay, Arizona's warm. I took a semester off. I didn't do any of the basketball stuff. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go to school. I'll be a young snowbird, right? I'll go to Arizona for the school year, and then I'm back in Alaska working in the oil fields for the summers. So I'm missing basically the extremes of both. I've got it figured out. And then, as you know, you have to actually be an adult and grow up and pick somewhere to stay, basically.
Right.
So I was going to school originally for mechanical engineering because I did want to continue to work in the oil field and do what they call a hitch. So you work for 3 weeks straight, no weekends, no days off, and then you're off for 3 weeks. So,
Oh,
oh,
that sounds
geez.
great.
Yeah, you work for 6 months and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do that and travel around the world on my time off. And then I found out as a mechanical engineer, I would most likely be 9 to 5 in an office in Anchorage. And I said, no, 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 we're not doing that. I'll go crazy. So I switched to kinesiology and absolutely loved it. I love the human body. I was an athlete all growing up and was going to be a physical therapist. And then I got into medical sales and then I went between here and California. I cover 5 states right now, so I still have a really big territory. I travel a lot, which is great. But last summer we had like 40 days and 40 nights of 110 plus. And
Yeah.
I don't care what they say, you do not ever get used to it. If you are cold in Alaska, you can layer, you can cuddle, you can get fuzzy blankets, you could put on fuzzy socks, you could start a fire. When you're hot here in Arizona, you can take everything off and be hot and still get a ticket for indecent exposure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've spent time in both necks of the woods. You know what I mean?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I perform in Arizona, like at the
Yep.
Improv and the JR Comedy Spot, and then
Yes.
Alaska, they don't have comedy clubs, but they have bars, and they make them like a comedy night. And when I was in Alaska, I actually escaped death because I came face to face with a polar bear. You know what I mean? And it was scary. You want to know how I escaped death, Sydney?
I do actually. I'm very curious about this
Oh.
story.
Okay, so I gave him a Coca-Cola.
I was like, where did you find a polar bear in there? That makes sense. That tracks actually. It's probably one of the bar crawls.
But no, like when I remember when I went to Alaska, I was like, I want to find an igloo because I never saw an igloo, and I
Yep.
thought like they were all, and I couldn't find one. So like maybe I was
No.
in, maybe it's just a wise tale. I don't know. Did you ever see
You
an
could go to
igloo?
the ice hotel in Chena Hot Springs, and that's kind of igloo-ish, but I've never personally seen one outside of like the little mini forts we would make back home. So
Yeah,
never a proper.
yeah. So they're old wise tales. They don't exist, right?
Not where I was living.
Oh my gosh! Wow. And then, so you said that you played basketball. What was your position and what was your number?
Yeah, so I played basketball, volleyball, and I ran track. I was number 12. 12 is my favorite number, and I was a three guard. So I was me and one other girl, we were the two tallest girls on the team. We were the same height, but I was also the fastest, basically, and a really good defender. So I played three guard because I was tall. I usually had a post on me so I could take them from outside the perimeter. And my coach forced me to learn how to shoot three pointers pretty well. So it's been a while, but I was actually out shooting the other day with a friend and it brought back a lot of memories. I ended up having a dream about like my high school basketball team again.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah,
Oh.
throwback.
And then you mentioned you were bullied a little. Do you mind if we get into that? Because I mean, if that's a sore subject, we don't need to. But I was bullied a lot, so
Yeah, it's funny because it's different than bullying now, right? So
yeah,
people could hear my story and be like, "Oh, that's not such a big deal. It's we didn't have all the online stuff that kids go through nowadays." That's hard. I mean, I kind of experienced that a little bit with this, right? But it's hard to be kids out there, especially nowadays. For me, it was more so I was in a really small town. 5 to 800 people. Everybody knows everybody. And I'm in the same classes, first through 12th grade, with the same people. And somehow, always the odd duck, right? Always the one left out, always kind of the weird rumors, always the one on the outskirts, never quite included. And it's tough
Yeah.
in small towns like that. And again, I think it's definitely more tough now. I think there's a lot more pressure on kids. I mean, I had the freaking braces and blue eyeshadow and like bad dream matte foundation that nobody knew what was going on, but we didn't have the internet to like kind of dox people and stuff like that they do now. And
Right.
there's so much pressure on kids. And I'm a big mental health advocate. I'm a big advocate of therapy. I've tried all kinds of different therapies. I love it. I'm big on the self-help books, big on self-love, but they don't teach them that now. And I certainly didn't know it back then. I would hear they're jealous. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm me. I
Yeah.
just want to
Yeah.
be included. I want to participate. I never had a best friend. And now I have the best friend in the whole entire world. And she's my biggest cheerleader. And I am so grateful that she's my best friend, but I didn't grow up having that. And
Yeah.
it's really isolating, especially in such a small town.
Yeah, definitely. When you were talking about your best friend, I was like, "Ah, I got promoted to best friend. Excellent." Then you said she. I was like,
Obviously.
"Oh, okay." Uh, but no, like it it's so interesting because I feel like schools should teach like mental health and stuff because I feel especially like teachers and principals, like they kind of know the shit they're doing and how it'll like affect them in the, you know what I mean? But kids don't know this, so I feel like if they taught it, it would be you know, more easier not to do.
So my whole family, not my whole family, most of my family has been teachers. My mom was a teacher. Her mom, my grandma, who lives out here in Phoenix, she taught for like over 50 years. My grandma's brother and his wife, they're both teachers, right? I could never, especially not with how kids act nowadays, because now you're more of a glorified babysitter, right? I think that's really difficult. Shout out to all my teachers out there.
Yeah,
But they get put in these really difficult positions as well. And I do think us trying to standardize testing is an example, right? Like my mom would have students that orally would pass with flying colors, but on a written test, it was too difficult. And we are not all the same. We do not all look the same. We do not all think the same. We do not all test the same. That's what makes us really incredible is we're all so different and unique. And to judge someone by a standardized test, I don't think is really fair. And I know that that's one of the things that education and teachers in general just really struggle with. And then, of course, the things that they have to do on top of classes and everything else, they should have different types of counselors. I don't know about you, but we had like a counselor in school, but it wasn't for like, it was like, what are you going to do next with your life? Not like, hey, I'm really struggling and having issues here. Like, I feel like I don't fit in type of deal. What are some tools? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
No, definitely, definitely. And like I was bullied because I have autism and like I was very nonverbal. And it was so weird because like my entire, school I was just bullied and then like freshman year in high school is when I started stand-up comedy and I went to speech therapy and stuff. And uh I'll say his name because I don't really care, but this guy named Josh Tucker, biggest jerk in the world. His older sister saw me do comedy, and I guess she told him, oh, I saw a 15-year-old do comedy at a bar named Keith Reza, and he's the guy you're always making fun of and stuff. So then he wanted to be my friend because and I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what I mean? Like, let's reverse the clocks a little. You know what I mean? So I think like that's how shallow people really are, in that situation.
Yeah, I think I like to believe people are mostly inherently good. I think especially now with instant gratification, there is a lot more self-serving.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because I now am all about genuine like self-love, empowerment, do not dim your shine. shine bright, be who you want to be, wear the outfit, but you don't do those things at the expense of others. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, definitely.
you don't put others down to make yourself feel better or to make your light appear to shine brighter. For me, that is just what do the kids say? Cringe? I don't know all
Yeah,
the terminology they do now.
it's cringy. I don't know. I don't know the
But
terminology to it, but
I never think someone is better when I'm seeing them put someone else down.
yeah.
Ever. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's funny. I've had friends or partners where they say something deprecating about me and oh, it's just a joke. No,
It's hurtful.
there's joking, right?
Yeah.
But I never believe in embarrassing your partner or your best friend in a setting where it's not called for. Now, let's be honest, especially with stand-up comedy, right? You get riz, people will kind of like get into a little bit. You're joking with your friends where everybody can handle it, but there are certain situations where you just know better.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Not at a dinner in front of your bosses, not at meeting someone's parents, not there's certain things where it's like you don't try to make that other person look bad because you think it'll make you look good. And that is one of my pet peeves in all honesty.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I wish we grew up together in the same schools. I would have been your best friend and I would have protected you. I would have
I
been
know
like,
we're gonna be best friends now though.
yeah.
So
I would have been like, Sydney, you're invited to my party. We don't need to take Josh Tucker.
yeah, who's Josh?
Yeah.
Josh wasn't invited. He's not invited to the comedy show.
Uh, so while you were growing up, like, did you like play board games or like what was your thing? Did you write
I read.
poetry? Read?
I wrote poetry. I actually am working on some things right now with that. I love to write. I got published when I was younger. And writing was a really big creative outlet for me. And I am a reader. I don't have a TV at my house. I have bookshelves and I will read honestly anything. I was just telling the story the other day. Like, I'm not a big partier,
Yeah.
despite trying to play up the bottle girl persona. Not a partier. I backpacked New Zealand with a friend years ago,
Oh my God,
and
how is that?
it was unbelievable. I say backpack, but we like got a rental car and we got $10 Walmart tents and we like figured it out basically, right? We slept in the car some nights, we slept in the tent some nights, we were in hostels some of the nights. It was great. But we were over there for Christmas and New Year's Eve, and she wanted to go. There's like a whole backstory here that I could talk about for like 40 minutes. But we met some other kids that were on holiday from Europe, and they were working there, and they invited us to, this concert. We went, we made friends. There was some really like weird situation type deal. So she wanted to go back for their New Year's Eve party, and I was like, I'm not going back to that place.
Right.
Not happening. I stayed at the hostel and I read for New Year's Eve, I started reading like the third book of Game of Thrones. Side note,
Oh my
very
God.
bitter. The books didn't get finished, but the series did. I boycotted the TV series for like 5 years
Yeah.
because I was so upset that the books didn't get finished. I prefer a book over a movie or TV show any day of the week. Done.
No, yeah, definitely. I tried reading the first Game of Thrones, but it was so big where maybe I just wasn't into it, but like I gave up within two or three chapters, you know. So I was like, all right,
I
I'll watch the show.
I read like the first four, this is when I was younger, first four Harry Potter books in just around 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because I'm a speed reader, but I can comprehend. And I will just, you wouldn't see me for hours. And I would just be happy, content. I used to get in trouble because I would take my entire bedside lamp. I still remember it. It was like one of the older, like China looking ones and I would put it underneath my blankets so I could read after my parents said that it was time for bed. And for whatever reason, I thought they couldn't see the glow. They'd come in my room and check me, and I'd be like all quiet, thinking they couldn't see me under there. And meanwhile, the light's still lighting everything up. But that's what I played outside.
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of space in Alaska. We had toys, we had four-wheelers, we had snow machines, snowmobiles. I call them snow machines. Um, I played sports. I was just an outdoor kid, kind of a little bit of a tomboy, but then I loved fashion and I love design and I was just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's so awesome. You would totally get along with my sister Stephanie because she does the exact same thing with books. Like she has her own little personal library of
Tell her to
just
send me some recommendations. I need some new ones.
oh my God. She's like more famous than me and I don't know her handler, but like books send her books to review
That's my, okay, I need to know how to do that.
them.
That's what I want to do. That sounds fantastic.
Okay, I'll connect you. But
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, so like I come home, there's like boxes of books. I was like, what the like there's this comedian named Matt Rife, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know Matt, through stand up, like,
Yeah.
when he started, I considered him a friend and stuff. And she interviewed him for this book that he wrote and she was all bragging and I haven't interviewed him on this. So I was like, how the hell did that happen? You know what I mean?
When did you get to do that?
Yeah, so it's but yeah. So I have three more questions because I wanted to respect your time. But if
Cool.
I wanted to ask you if you didn't get on the TV, like where do you think your life would like where do you think you would have followed like your path? Do you think you would have stayed in the medical field or do you think you would have tried something else?
I really loved the medical field, still in it. Didn't win the million, so still doing it.
Uh,
I genuinely love it, but I have always wanted to be in entertainment in some capacity. When I was younger, I did modeling, even in Alaska. My mom drove me 3 hours into Anchorage to do a prom runway bridal show, right? And walked the little runway when I was 13 or 14. I flew out for America's Next Top Model when I turned 18. I flew to Missouri to do auditions there. I've always loved this space. And I'm I wish I would have gotten into it when I was a little bit younger, but I was trying to play small and I had a lot of self-doubt and I'm so much more who I am now that it's really good timing. I believe in that. I'm going to continue to stay in medical space as long as possible. I do absolutely love my company. I love the products. I love making a difference in people's lives, but I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I really love working with women. I'm using the word really because I'm excited about all of it.
yeah, yeah.
Women empowerment, helping people develop self-love, develop physical fitness, develop being healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. It's really important. And so I'd like to think that I would probably still continue down in those areas. And now there's a whole lot more opportunities with that.
I think that's so awesome because all the cards on the table, you're a very beautiful person. And
Thank
I
you.
think when like ladies who like probably don't feel they're that, with like and then they work with you, I feel like that's just more empowerment or like, oh my God, this is so great. You know what I mean?
And I was an ugly duckling. Like I was not, if the comments are like, she peaked in high school, trust me,
Really? I didn't.
did not.
Oh.
Absolutely not. No. Great genetics. Shout out to my parents. Very grateful for them. But I was more of kind of the ugly duckling, awkward kid. And I believe beauty radiates from the inside out. I really do. And there's so many different types of beauty because beauty is objective.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a really big thing is it irritates me so much when people just make an assumption or say that someone's not beautiful when you have no idea who they are. Or some really maybe physically attractive people could maybe not be the prettiest on the inside. And for me, that then you're not a pretty person.
No, yeah, definitely. I agree. Like not to brag, but Sydney, I'm like a three. Like if we're rating me 1 through 10,
Stop
But
it.
no. But here's what I'm saying: is my personality makes me a 10. Like every girlfriend I've ever had, they've always been like, really pretty, which I don't look for. But I don't really like. I just am myself. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of
That's the
how.
big thing.
You know what I mean? So like, even like when you're watching the $1 Million Secret and that Chris was trying to like make a move on you, like I was like, this guy doesn't really have a chance because he was like, there's a difference between being over cocky and then trying to like You know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, it's not gonna work. It's not a dating show either. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah, and Chris and I are such good friends, honestly. Now he was we I talked to him earlier this week. It's none of I don't think there's issues within the cast. I personally don't have issues with anyone in the cast. It was a game show at the end of the
yeah,
day. You know what I mean? I thought Kyle, Jamie, and Chris all came out after the first three episodes dropped, and they spent the weekend in Scottsdale, and we all got to hang out. It was the first time we all saw each other since the show, which
yeah,
was really kind of cool, almost a year ago now. And so it is just interesting again how fan feedback and whatnot has come through for everyone and kind of the characters that we were all kind of not given because that's obviously who we are. We're those types of personalities, but the way that things come across.
yeah. When I was growing up, there was this MTV TV show that I auditioned for. It was called it was like Next or Step or something. We're like,
I've seen Next where they like come off the or the bus or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that, and
and
there's
they're
just like Next or
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
So y'all kind of like the story because like I'm the worst actor you're ever going to talk to, Sydney, but I'm the best comedian in the world. So like I'm auditioning, right? And I was doing stand up at this time, so like every answer they were giving me, I was just trying to make it funny because I didn't really like I said,
Yeah.
I don't really care about the girl or getting laid or the money or whatever. You know what I mean? So like they had one question. They said like, where do you usually meet women? And like I wrote in hotels or the street. And you know what I mean? Like I'm just like making all these funny answers. And I thought that would get me on the show. And they were like, dude, you're like 17 and you're saying all this. I was like, well, it's a reality show. I'm here to provide the laughs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm here to provide entertainment. What else do you want?
Yeah, and then they were like, "You're competing with the heart of a lady with four other guys. Do you have a strategy?" And I was like, "Oh, I would let her hit me, you know, something like that." So,
They're like, what is going on right now? But it's
uh,
unique, right? And then you stand out.
yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is, it didn't work. Like, I didn't get on the
Eh,
TV, but you know, they said next.
ugh, tragic.
All right, so two more questions. These are actually pretty easy. One, if you could go to a time machine and talk to a younger version of Sydney, knowing everything you know now, what would you tell yourself and all that stuff?
Invest in Bitcoin,
Oh
quite
my God.
frankly.
Yeah.
For sure. What was that? When did it come out? Like 2015,
It's
2016?
starting to like really like my one of my best friends is like a big spokesman person for it. So like
Yeah, I think it what just broke over 100,000 or something like that again. I would definitely tell myself, younger self, invest in Bitcoin. I would like go through and run those stocks. Also, I know I wasn't of age yet, but buy houses in 2008. I would have
oh
found a way to do
yeah.
that too. Get into real estate. In all seriousness, those ones are serious. I would definitely do that. It gets better. And I think for anyone who's younger or struggling and kind of listening to this, I promise it gets better. I never believed my mom when she was like, you know what, the older you get, the easier it does get in the sense of you care less what people think, you're more yourself. And my mom's the prime example, Danny knows this, of like having childlike wonder and
Yeah.
just being herself, even when it drives me nuts or it embarrasses me or I'm trying to get her to like be a certain way. She's just so unapologetically herself. So younger you, it gets better. Invest in Bitcoin.
Oh,
Get into real estate in 2008 for sure.
all right. And then the last question is where can the folks follow and support you at? Like are you on the TikTok or the Instagram or like what's your
Uh, TikTok, Instagram, Sydney with two E's, dot Faulkner, no U.
yeah.
People are finding my LinkedIn. That's a little bit weird. Facebook, I'm
What's
not
a
on.
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is for like professional, like that's my work.
Oh,
Like that's my
oh.
medical sales job stuff. So LinkedIn is like for the professionals. People are finding me on that. If you add me on Facebook, I'm not on Facebook. It's for my friends and it's like for my family, my grandparents and stuff like that. TikTok, Instagram is going to be the best ones and possible YouTube channel coming out soon. So
Whoa.
we'll see about that too.
You should do a Sydney Falkner show. I think that would be fantastic.
Why not, right?
All
Come,
right.
welcome to my TED Talks. I'm going to have you as a guest speaker so we can learn more about you. So,
Oh, that would be great. Well, Sydney, this was fantastic, and thanks for being my best friend for 45 minutes and making my lady friend extremely jealous. And in all seriousness, I wish you nothing but happiness and kindness. And I think you're a very beautiful person. And on this TV show, like I said, you're portrayed as a villain, but I don't see any villainous in you. So I think you're fantastic.
thanks, Keith. You might ruin my street cred with that, but I had so much fun. It was so great getting to chat with you.
Yeah, even though the Zoom broke us up for a second.
Oh, it's okay. We got back together. We handled it. They can't keep
Yeah.
us apart.
They can't keep true Zoom mates apart.
True. New best friends, besties.
All right, cool, Sydnee Falkner. All right, guys, that was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on the Razor Riffs.